most of these bigger trees are anything between 500 and 1,000 years plus. Oh, if you strip the outer layer of bark off the tree, it's not going to ring bark it and kill it. It's rather like a whole lot of, an onion with a whole lot of different layers going through. So if you strip the outer layer off,
it still has a way to transport
exactly.
nutrients and everything.
And what we can see here is elephant damage. Elephants are either left tusked or right tusked, as we are left or right-handed, and they tend to wear down quicker. Whichever tusk they're using tends to wear down, and in fact you'll often find a groove on the end of a tusk which has been created from the elephant using his trunk to purchase something, and then he uses the tusk as a lever to break it, and you get this wear in, and you get a distinct groove, and in fact it eventually wears through, and a little tip breaks off, and I found those in the bush in my wandering. So an elephant's come in here and he prides this off here. You can see the tusk marks there, scraping there.
And Elspeth was showing me Fred.
Yes, well this one carved his initials on the tree, so I decided to call him Fred. But they'll get a purchase of this, and because it's so fibrous it goes up and it strips up there.
Okay.
So when you look at a baobab tree, most of the damage that you can see is elephant damage. But what I would like to point out to you is the human damage. There's human damage on this tree from when there were people living in these areas. They utilized the baobab tree for the fiber. They got this fiber, they'd come in with an axe and cut the panel out. I'll show you there, look, see that there? The panel has been cut out there. That ridging there is scarring from an axe. Probably in about the 1950s, just before you did your canoeing trip, Carl, down the river. Now here's a sample of string that I've made from the fiber of the baobab. Extremely strong.
It's very strong stuff, you can tell.
Now, from a survival point of view...
Why did they do that? To get the fiber, to get a chunk of fiber?
Yes, to use to make string, to make rope, to bind the frameworks of their huts, to carry firewood, bundle firewood. They probably used it for clothing even. And from a survival point of view, if you took me in a helicopter and dropped me in the middle of the bush, a long way away from water, and no source of food, the first thing I would do is find myself a baobab tree. Because if I'm looking for moisture, water, that's the brown-hooded kingfisher calling. There's thousands of gallons of water in a baobab tree. It's rather like a potato.
How do you get at it?
Well, I would go and find myself a hard wood, say a bit of mapani. You get these sort of pointed bits of mapani. I'd use a rock and I would chisel the outer layer off that tree and get into the inside. And I would sit in the shade. It's going to provide me with shade all day from the hot sun. And I'd sit in the shade of the tree and I would chew the fiber to get the moisture. And at the same time I'd make myself lots and lots of string of different sizes, and I would use that to make snares, nooses to start catching perhaps guinea fowl or francolin. Perhaps more ambitiously I could make a thicker rope to catch myself an impala and start getting a source of food in that way. If I didn't have a hat for my solar panel, which I need, I would actually sit there and weave a hat to protect my head from the sun. If I didn't have shoes, I'd make a basic pair of sandals out of this fiber. There's a pod up there, a nice big oval pod. That is where we get cream of tartar from. Here it's silhouetted up here. Look where I'm pointing.
Oh, I see it. Yes, I see.
Inside that pod are kidney-shaped seeds, which are covered in a white pulpy stuff, which is cream of tartar. I've had people sitting there. I've had people sitting from me to you away from flowers, an elephant coming and picking up flowers from their feet.
Goodness.
So it's a very useful
It's a
tree.
beautiful tree.